When the Mongol hordes swept across the Eurasian continent during their western campaign, they left devastation in their wake. The shadow of the Mongol cavalry had become a nightmare for Europeans. To survive, many Eastern Europeans fled to the Carpathian Mountains. There, they established small settlements on the fertile land and lived by hunting. However, even in this peaceful place, they could not unite. The powerful Tugar family often bullied nearby small tribes. Many of these tribes turned to Zakhar for help, hoping he could uphold justice for them. Zakhar stated that he could only address the issue if Tugar participated in the council. However, everyone knew that Tugar would not appear, as he considered himself above all others. So, Zakhar sent his 2 sons on a mission. He said that Tugar needed help hunting bears. Zakhar tasked Maksim with the hunt and instructed him to invite Tugar to the next town meeting using the bear he killed. Maksim did not understand why his father had chosen him for the task, believing Ivan could do it better. Ivan then mentioned that Tugar's daughter would also be joining the hunt. Tugar's daughter was not only beautiful but also an excellent archer. As she approached to retrieve the prey, she accidentally fell into a pit. She blew her horn to call for help, but to her surprise, the sound attracted a massive brown bear instead. The bear emerged from the darkness, and Myroslava quickly hid behind a rock. Although the cave was dim, the bear's keen sense of smell detected her presence. It pretended not to notice her but suddenly appeared when she peeked out. The bear moved swiftly, cornering Myroslava. Just as she felt helpless, a spear pierced the bear's neck. The bear roared in pain, its attention drawn to Maksim. Seizing the moment, Maksim struck the bear in the chest with his spear. He held the bear at bay, but his strength was waning, and the situation grew dire. Myroslava then circled behind the bear and delivered the fatal blow. Together, they managed to kill the bear and became close friends through the ordeal. They introduced themselves and chatted briefly. Just then, Maksim's brother's voice came from the hole overhead, and then a pole went down the hole. Maksim, being a gentleman, insisted that Myroslava go up first. This shared experience made Maksim fall in love with Myroslava, and she seemed to feel the same way. However, Tugar did not express any gratitude to Maksim, as he looked down on the sons of farmers. He asked Maksim what he wanted in return, but Maksim had not thought of asking for anything. Remembering the task his father had given him, he mentioned the town meeting. As a powerful lord, Tugar had no interest in attending a meeting organized by farmers. Nevertheless, for his daughter's sake, he agreed to go. After returning to the tribe, Maksim said the mission had been accomplished. Zakhar was pleased and began preparing for a celebration. Myroslava dressed up to go out but was stopped by her father. Tugar did not want her to leave and always restricted her movements. When she returned to the room, she saw a head sticking out of the ceiling. It turned out to be Maksim. He confessed that his heart raced whenever he saw her and invited her to the village celebration. Myroslava gladly accepted, but they didn't know how to leave. They disguised themselves as servants and snuck out of the manor, then rode swiftly to the mountaintop village of Taklia. The village was in the midst of a grand celebration. Maksim's father, the village chief, was leading the festivities with a staff, while villagers lit a massive wooden frame on fire. People danced around 2 giants, and warriors competed to test their courage. Others rushed through a large gate filled with sparks. Maksim introduced Myroslava to his parents and told her about the village. He expressed his pride in his brother and then invited Myroslava to dance with him by the bonfire. Myroslava watched Maksim's parents dance lovingly, her eyes filled with envy. Maksim's mother, upon meeting Myroslava, gifted her a beautiful headpiece and asked her to be kind to her son. She already considered Myroslava her daughter-in-law. Myroslava nodded slightly, feeling happy. The two talked all night by candlelight. The next day, Maksim escorted Myroslava back home. Meanwhile, Maksim's mother and her elder daughter-in-law went to visit relatives. As soon as they left, Petro came to find Maksim to hunt stag. In the woods, Maksim was suddenly attacked by a woman. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was someone who had accompanied his mother. The woman, terrified, calmed down and began to explain what had happened. She said that when they arrived at their destination, the place had been burned to the ground. She claimed that horse-riding devils had taken the others captive, and she alone had escaped in the chaos. Maksim and Ivan decided to rescue their mother and the others immediately. Upon reaching the village, they found it littered with corpses. They discovered their uncle still alive but wounded. From him, they learned that their mother and Rosanna had been taken. Before he could reveal who the captors were, the uncle passed away. With no time to bury the dead, the three armed themselves and tracked the enemy through the forest. Following the trail, they found a camp as night fell. The sight before them was horrifying. The captured men were being used as target practice by the Mongols. While the women were caged, Maksim, Ivan, and Petro stealthily infiltrated the camp. They saw Maksim's mother being dragged from a cage, about to be tied to a post. The group split up, with Maksim going to save his mother while Ivan and Petro freed the others. Rosanna, seeing her husband, cooperated by distracting the guard, allowing Ivan to take him down. Maksim arrived just in time, striking the Mongol prince with an axe. However, the prince was not dead. As Maksim untied his mother to escape, the prince lunged at them. A struggle ensued, and Maksim's mother joined the fight. Maksim seized the moment to strike the prince's neck, killing him. Instead, the prince yanks Maksim's necklace off, something Maksim doesn't notice. Maksim shouted to draw the enemy's attention, buying time for the others to escape. When he reached the designated cave, he found his mother gravely injured. Mother passed away after meeting Maksim. The next day, the great Khan saw his son's body and was overcome with grief. Though he spared his trembling subordinates, he vowed revenge. He noticed an unfamiliar necklace in his son's hand and ordered his men to find its owner. After his mother's death, Maksim faced new troubles due to the lost necklace. The great Khan tracked it down to Lord Tugar, the rightful owner of the land. Zakhar, knowing the Mongols' brutality, rallied the people to resist. Tugar, seeking an alliance, arrived with his men but demanded that everyone follow his command. Zakhar immediately expressed his discontent, unwilling to follow Tugar's orders. Since neither side was willing to yield, they decided to settle their dispute through a duel. Each side sent forth a champion to do battle. Ivan told Maksim to lower his center of gravity to cope with the opponent's bulky body. This advice proved effective, and Maksim's relentless attacks quickly overwhelmed his foe. Maksim could have easily won, but he stopped at the crucial moment. Though Tugar was dissatisfied with the outcome, he ultimately agreed to the alliance. At the same time, the Mongolian Khan had already mastered the mountain terrain and immediately ordered a crackdown on the villages. The nomadic tribes refused to reveal Maksim's whereabouts. In the Mongols' eyes, those who did not provide answers were of no use. Villagers were executed one after another. Even the powerful Tugar was not spared. His daughter became a hostage. Seriously injured, Petro rushed to Zakhar's tribe for help. Honoring his alliance, Zakhar immediately dispatched his two sons and villagers to the rescue. When Maksim and his brothers arrived, the fortress was eerily silent, with Tugar's men lying on the ground. As everyone entered the courtyard, guard, at the rear, picked up a helmet and began to strike it. The soldiers on the ground suddenly sprang to life, surrounding Maksim and his companions. Not only are there soldiers around, but there are also archers upstairs. Maksim and his group fought desperately, forced to retreat into a house. Bohun was shot in the shoulder by an arrow and Petro pulled the arrow out of his body with great effort. The Khan ordered the entire fortress to be burned. Tugar, hoping to save his home, called out to those inside. He said that Maksim had killed the Khan's son and the Mongols would not let it go, but as long as they ended their lives themselves, their families would not be troubled. These were Tugar's words. The Khan had made no such promise. Before Tugar could finish, Bohun shot an arrow in response, so Tugar ordered a fire to be set. The wooden house quickly caught fire and thick smoke billowed. If they didn't get out, they would be suffocated to death inside. Maksim noticed the wind was in their favor, using the smoke as cover. A spear pierced the smoke, striking an enemy. Just as the people outside were surprised, everyone rushed out of the thick smoke and fought the enemy. Maksim faced Gard in combat. Maksim tried to persuade Gard, saying they were of the same race. But Gard disagreed. He would rather side with the Mongols than stand with the farmers. During the fight between the two, Maksim was at a disadvantage in terms of strength and was suppressed by the opponent for a while. At the moment Gard kicked Maksim's axe away, Maksim broke free and dodged the opponent's sword. Maksim was faster. He quickly picked up the axe and chopped at Gard. As the group prepared to leave, Maksim decided to assassinate the Khan. Seeing Maksim, the Khan smiled and ordered his men to ready poison arrows. Maksim's thrown axe was deflected by a soldier's shield. The Khan's poison arrow missed Maksim but hit Ivan instead. With the assassination attempt failed, the brothers retreated. Tugar, under the Khan's orders, pursued them. Suddenly, Myroslava appeared, and Tugar quickly ordered a ceasefire. This allowed Maksim and the others to escape. After returning to the tribe, Ivan was shot in the neck by an arrow and the poison spread quickly. He could only wait for death in the company of his family. There was no time for grief. Zakhar gathered all the villagers and devised an escape plan. Running now would surely lead to capture, so Zakhar planned to topple the ancient guardian stones and destroy the dam. This would create a river barrier between them and the Mongols. Maksim suggested defending against the Mongol army at the main village entrance to buy time for others to escape. All the men agreed with his proposal. The panicked nomadic tribes were forced to fight, luring the Mongol horde into a narrow valley. In the valley, the men tightly gripped ropes, awaiting the enemy's arrival. From the other end of the gorge, a group of cavalry charged forward, and the men pulled the ropes with all their might. As they retreated step by step, rows of sharpened stakes rose from the ground. The cavalry, charging too fast to turn, were impaled and thrown from their horses. The men cheered their temporary victory. However, a larger force of Mongol infantry followed closely behind. Their commander shouted orders to eliminate the villagers and avenge the prince. The villagers quickly picked up shields from the ground, forming a shield wall to meet the Mongol charge. In the narrow valley, the Mongol soldiers advanced in waves. Facing only a small tribe, the Mongols underestimated their foes and charged without hesitation. The villagers, though weak, were well prepared, positioning archers on the cliffs. Before the armies clashed, the Mongols suffered significant losses. Once engaged, the Mongols, dismounted, seemed less formidable. The villagers fought fiercely with swords and spears over the shield wall. Soon, the villagers' numerical disadvantage became apparent as their shield wall was breached. Several Mongols surrounded each villager. Despite being outnumbered, the villagers did not retreat. Their families were evacuating, and every second they held out meant greater safety for their loved ones. The Mongols began to fall one by one, facing certain death. The villagers fought with all their might. Maksim surveyed the battlefield, seeing his comrades fall, and set his sights on the Mongol commander. If he could take him down, they might win. As Maksim charged, a one-eyed Mongol soldier attacked his father. Since Zakhar was old, One Eye knocked his weapon away with one move. The village chief barely blocked the knife with his crutch. Just as Zakhar was about to fall, Petro intervened, killing the Mongol with his axe. The Mongolian captain did not expect the enemy to be so strong. When he saw the fierce general One Eye falling on the battlefield and looked at the dead and wounded soldiers on the ground, he actually retreated with the remaining soldiers. Reporting to the Khan, he described the enemy as too resilient and suggested withdrawing from the mountains to bypass the village. Upon hearing the word retreat, the Khan drew his blade and slit the commander's throat. He removed the commander's insignia and handed it to Tugar, ordering him to annihilate the villagers by nightfall. Tugar accepted the task, knowing failure meant death. Although Maksim led the villagers to repel the Mongol squadron, they knew this victory was temporary. Following the original plan, the remaining villagers retreated to the village. Tugar and his men arrived at the village around the same time. Maksim ordered Petro to take the child and leave, while he stayed behind to face Tugar. He drew his bow and aimed at Tugar. After a moment's hesitation, he shot the rider next to Tugar, the second arrow striking the rider's throat. Out of arrows, Maksim wielded his battle axe, but Mongol riders ensnared him with a net. Seeing Maksim captured, Petro could do nothing. When he reached the dam with the child, the villagers knew Maksim would not return. The village chief ordered the dam's destruction to ensure Maksim's sacrifice was not in vain. The Khan, upon capturing Maksim, did not kill him immediately. He wanted Maksim to watch as his loved ones were killed one by one. After burning the village, the Khan sent his elite forces toward the guardian stones. Meanwhile, the villagers struggled to topple the stones and destroy the water gate. The Mongols, seeing this, ordered their archers to fire, determined to stop the villagers. The villagers tensed as arrows rained down, striking horses and people. Without horses, pulling down the stones was nearly impossible, especially with Mongols advancing. Yet, the muscular Petro refused to give up. He continued to pull the rope with his shield raised, and the village chief also pulled with all his strength, but was hit by an arrow. Myroslava moved the injured chief to a cave and rejoined the fight. Seeing Myroslava surrounded, Bohun removed his armor and descended from the dam to aid her. He kept his eyes on the enemy general, but the enemy general found Myroslava and kicked her down. Just as the commander thought victory was his, Bohun let out a roar. The Mongol soldiers turned to face him, but Bohun's sword pierced the commander's chest. More Mongols arrived, forcing Myroslava to help Bohun into the cave. Petro, with immense strength, single-handedly toppled the guardian stone. The stone crashed into the water, and Petro was swept away by the flood, smiling. The Mongols retreated in chaos as the floodwaters surged. Tugar and the Khan climbed to safety on a large rock. The sudden flood decimated the Mongol army. The Khan moved to kill Maksim, but Tugar stopped him, seeing Maksim as their bargaining chip. Tugar called out to Zakhar, offering Maksim's life in exchange for safe passage. Zakhar responded with an arrow, refusing the offer. Tugar pressed his sword against Maksim's shoulder and glanced at his daughter. He knew very well that this was the man his daughter loved deeply, and Tugar didn't want his daughter to hate him for the rest of her life. Tugar then cut the ropes that bound Maksim and then fought with the two Mongol soldiers. The Khan stabbed Tugar, who looked at Myroslava before tossing his sword to Maksim. Maksim fought the Khan but was quickly overpowered. His sword was thrown into the river, leaving him defenseless. As the Khan prepared to strike the final blow, Maksim grabbed the Khan by the waist and pushed him down. He then grabbed the scimitar and stabbed it into the Khan's chest, taking back his eagle necklace. Maksim's father succumbed to his wounds, and the remaining villagers prepared to find a new home under Maksim's leadership. Though the Mongol army was defeated, the story diminished the true might of the Mongol cavalry.